Selling doesn't feel wrong because you're bad at it. It feels wrong because you've been focused on the wrong thing entirely. You've been focused on the close, on the money, on getting her to say yes, and every single time you show up that way, she can feel it. And it costs you. The shift that changes everything isn't a better script, it isn't more confidence, and it isn't the stronger closing technique. It's a completely different way of seeing what a sales conversation is actually for, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Hey there, welcome back. I'm Tiffany Fulcher, sales coach and founder of Convert Her. This is the place where women who are done with inconsistent income come to build a sales system that actually works. If that's you, subscribe and let's get into it. I want to start by painting a picture of what transactional selling actually looks like in real life, because most women who are doing it don't even know they're doing it. Transactional selling sounds like this. You get on a call and within the first 5 minutes, you're already in pitch mode. You're running through your offer, you're listing what's included, you're defending your price before she even asks about it. You're asking yourself, how do I get her to say yes before you've even figured out whether she actually is the right fit or not? And here's the most telltale sign. You feel relieved when it's over, whether she bought or didn't. Just relieved to be done. And I know that feeling. I've lived in that feeling for longer than I want to admit. Because here's what transactional selling does that nobody talks about. It doesn't just hurt your conversion rate, it hurts your energy. It attracts the wrong clients, it creates relationships that don't last, and it makes you dread the very activity that your business depends on. When we show up focused only on the money, on getting the sale, hitting the number, closing the deal, we skip the most important part of the entire process. We skip her. And she feels skipped every single time. Now, she might not be able to name it, but somewhere in that conversation, she senses that you need something from her. And that energy of needing is the single biggest conversation killer in sales, hands down. The moment she feels like a transaction, she stops actually being a buyer. And I know this because I was that seller. Let me tell you about the moment, though, that everything for me actually changed. It wasn't a course, it wasn't a script, it wasn't a closing technique someone taught me. It was a conversation with a woman who needed my help. And somewhere in the middle of that conversation, I stopped thinking about whether she was going to buy, and I really started thinking about whether I was actually solving her problem. And something shifted inside. She could feel it, I could feel it, and the energy in the conversation, it completely changed. She stopped being guarded, and I stopped being strategic. We were just two women talking about a real problem and whether I had a real solution for it. And she bought it, but that's not the part that stayed with me. What stayed with me was how I felt after. Not relieved, not like I'd won something, like I had genuinely helped someone move from one place to a better one. And I thought, if selling always feels like that, I would never dread it again. But here's the thing I didn't understand yet. That shift wasn't accidental. I didn't stumble into a better conversation. I had unknowingly done something very specific in that moment that changed the entire dynamic around how I sell. I stopped selling and I started serving. And there's a system underneath that shift. 3 specific reframes that makes it repeatable, not just a lucky conversation you occasionally fall into, but a consistent approach that you bring to your sales conversations every single time. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, these aren't just tactics. They're a completely different way of seeing what selling actually is. And here is the first one. The goal isn't to get her to say yes. Most women think the goal of a sales conversation is to get someone to say yes, and it's not. The goal is to transfer belief. She came into the conversation not fully believing that your solution would work for someone like her in her specific situation at this specific time. And your job is to close that gap. Not by pushing, but by building. Inside Convert Her, I teach something called the 5 buyer beliefs. And before anyone can say yes to your offer, they need to believe these 5 specific things. 1 is that the problem is real. 2, a solution exists. 3, that your solution specifically works. 4, that it works for someone like her. And 5, right now is the right time. When she says, I'll think about it, she's not saying no. She's telling you which of those 5 beliefs hasn't been built yet. That's not rejection, that's a diagnosis. So here's what that looks like in a real conversation. She says, I need to think about it. And instead of pushing her harder or backing off completely, you say something like, of course, can I ask you, is it about whether this is the right fit or the right time? That's something specific about the offer that she can give you more clarity on. That one question identifies which belief is missing, and once you know which one is missing, you know exactly what to say next. So stop pitching and start listening for the gap. And when you find the gap, you can fill it with truth, with proof, with genuine conviction that will help her. And that's not selling, that's actually service. So the second one is closing techniques are a short-term strategy, and this is a long-term asset. Here's the contrarian truth that changed how I run my entire business. Relationship capital will grow your business faster than any closing technique that you could ever learn. It's more valuable than your funnel, more valuable than your content strategy, more valuable than your email list size or your follower count. Because relationship capital compounds in a way that no one tactic ever can. The woman who trusts you refers you. The woman who trusts you upgrades. The woman who trusts you comes back in 6 months and she wants to work with you when her situation changes. The woman who trusts you becomes your most powerful marketing tool because she tells everyone in the world about you and what you did for her. So you cannot buy that with a rebuttal script. You can only build that through genuine, consistent service over time. And here's what the math on something like that actually looks like. Transactional sellers are always starting over. Every sale is a fresh battle because there's no relationship underneath it. The moment she doesn't buy, she's gone, and there's nothing to come back to because there was nothing that was built. Service-based sellers are always accumulating. Every conversation adds to a relationship account. Every piece of content is a deposit. Every coaching call, every follow-up, every moment you show up with genuine care, that's compounding interest on an investment that she will eventually cash in by saying yes. So always be building, not always be closing. And here's what that actually looks like week to week. It means your Monday is not about who you can pitch to today, it's about who you can genuinely help today. It means your content isn't asking, how do I get her to buy? It's asking, what does she need to believe before she's ready? And it means your follow-up isn't chasing, it's checking in because you actually care about what happens next. And when you operate from that place consistently, she doesn't feel sold to, she feels remembered. And that is the rarest experience a buyer can have. Most sellers make her feel like a number. You make her feel like a person. The difference is worth more than any script you could ever memorize. Here's the third shift, and it's the one that changes how you talk about your offer completely. You're selling the wrong thing. Women who sell transactionally lead with what's included: features, deliverables, access, modules, calls, what you can get. And here's the problem with that approach. She doesn't want what's included. She wants what's possible. She wants to know what her life looks like on the other side of saying yes. The offer is just the vehicle. The transformation is what she's actually buying. Think about it this way. When you buy a gym membership, you're not buying access to treadmills and weights. You're buying the version of yourself who shows up consistently, feels strong and confident in her body. The equipment, that's just how you get there. So your offer works exactly the same way. She's not buying your 6-module curriculum. She's not buying your weekly coaching calls. She's not buying access to the scripts and the frameworks and the dashboard. She's buying consistent income. She's buying the confidence to make an offer without apologizing. She's buying the feeling of getting off a sales call and feeling proud of herself that she showed up. She's buying the version of herself who sells without losing herself in the process. And when you understand that, everything about how you talk about your offer actually changes. You stop listing features and you start describing outcomes. You stop defending your price and you start helping her see the cost of staying where she is. And here's the truth about price objections that will change how you hear them forever. When she says your price is too high, she is not commenting on your number. She's telling you that she doesn't yet believe the transformation that's going to happen is worth it. And those are two completely different problems with two completely different solutions. And the solution is never to lower your price. The solution is to make the transformation so vivid, so specific, so undeniably real for someone in her exact situation that the investment becomes the obvious decision. Stop selling the offer. Sell what she becomes because of it. So that's the framework. 3 reframes that move you from transaction to service. But I want to leave you with something bigger than a framework, because the real question isn't what you do differently, it's who you become when you actually live this way on a regular basis. The woman who sells consistently isn't better at closing. She stopped trying to close altogether. She shows up to every conversation with one question in her mind. What does this woman need? Not what do I need from this woman, but what does this woman need? She listens more than she pitches. She builds belief instead of applying pressure. She asks for the sale with conviction because she knows what's waiting for the woman who says yes. And she doesn't chase, she doesn't convince, She doesn't perform, she serves. And the sales, they follow. And here's what I want you to really hear. This is not a slower path to income. It's actually the faster one. Because when you build relationship capital, when every woman you talk to leaves the conversation feeling seen and genuinely cared for, regardless of whether she bought, your reputation grows quietly in the background. Women talk, they share, they recommend, and the women they send you, they arrive already believing because someone else told them about who you are and they know what to expect. That kind of growth doesn't come from a launch. It doesn't come from a funnel. It comes from the daily decision to treat every conversation like it matters, because it does. So here's what I want you to take into your next sales conversation. She is not a prospect. She's a person. She has a problem that's costing her something real. It's either time, money, confidence, peace of mind, something. And you have something that can genuinely help her. And when you show up from that place, the ask, it isn't pressure. It's an invitation. You're not convincing her to buy something she doesn't need. You're inviting her into a transformation that she has been looking for. And there's nothing pushy about that. There's nothing inauthentic about that. That is exactly what selling was always supposed to feel like. If this landed and you felt something shift while you were watching it, I made something for you. It's called Objection Proof, and it's 12 word-for-word scripts for the sales objections you're hearing the most. Things like, let me think about it. It's not the right time. Can you send me more info? These are the exact responses that I use with my private clients, and I'm giving it to you for free. It's linked in the description. You can download it and use it before your next conversation. I'll see you in the next video.